Hasn't anyone told you? Secondhand smoke kills.
Yeah, but they're all dead.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 7 of Gore Goblins. We're covering the 7th entry of the Halloween franchise, Halloween H20, 20 years later. Yes, that's the full title. I can't believe it either.
I don't like that title.
Yeah, that's Justin over there. I'm John, and today we're going to kind of praise it, but not completely, because it's all right.
It's all right.
So let's hear what Justin has to say first about his initial impressions of it. Let's just what'd you think?
Definitely better than fucking 6. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Aside from the mask looking even worse,
Somehow.
it's
Yeah.
the eyebrows.
Yeah.
Why did they need to add eyebrows
Well,
to the mask?
I got some info about all that. There are dogs barking outside. I don't know if you're gonna be able to hear them.
Someone needs to let the dogs in.
These dogs did not bark the whole fucking time we were watching the movie, and then the second I press record, they start fucking barking. You know what? Maybe Michael was onto something in those movies
That's why he kills dogs.
when he was killing those dogs, because they're just too noisy sometimes.
Okay, they shut up.
I'm just kidding. I'd never hurt an animal.
Yeah,
I love animals.
I love animals.
Both of us love
Fuck
animals.
people though.
Yeah, we don't like people
I'd
that
kill
much.
somebody over an animal.
That's what we do. We're not endorsing it. Let me stress that. We're talking about a video game here. We're talking about killing people in video games, not in real life, because we obviously would never do that.
Never.
Never would we ever do that.
No.
So anyway, yeah, back
to
to your
it.
initial thoughts, Justin.
I liked it. It's really, I've seen it before, maybe like twice. Not the whole way through most of the times because I didn't remember any of the beginning, which I felt dragged on for fucking ever.
Which is ironic because this is a very short movie. It's
but
less than an hour and a half long.
But the beginning felt so fucking annoying. I was like, hurry the fuck up. Like, I didn't really care for any of the characters either because they weren't important. It was just about Laurie coming back and facing off with Michael. That was it.
Yeah, none of these characters are in the sequel either. But also, it's a fun fact. Laurie, Jamie Lee Curtis, feels that the movie doesn't even begin until she sends John and his girlfriend off to the Becker house, which is a nice nod at Scream because that's Casey Becker's name, or that's named after Casey Becker, which is Drew Barrymore in the first one. This movie has a lot of ties to Scream, so I'm going to be talking about Scream a lot. But that's where Jamie Lee Curtis feels that the movie really kind of, begins, because she doesn't really think the rest of it holds up.
And she's got a point.
I mean,
it really
yeah.
doesn't.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it almost felt like a return to form, but modernized. So
that's probably why I found it more annoying.
Yeah, like this was because like 2018 Halloween is more like a requel, it redoes a lot of the stuff from the original, but it also serves as a sequel to set up a future. This one doesn't really feel like a requel. It kind of feels more like I don't know.
Here's this random thing.
The story doesn't work as well, in my opinion. And I mean, I don't know. It just didn't feel as thought out, I guess.
This one is supposedly the first time. This is the first timeline break, right?
Yeah, this is the first timeline break. Because this ignores 4, 5, and 6, and takes place 20 years after the second one, which took place on the same night as the original, which was 1978. And this, it doesn't really feel. It just feels like a modern, I guess. It just feels like Halloween in a 90s setting. That's the best way I can describe it. It doesn't really like feel like a redo of the original. It just feels
they tried to capture the original a lot.
Yeah, and that's what I mean is that like it goes back to its roots.
Yeah.
But like it's not like 2018 where it's almost like it doesn't have a new Loomis or any of that shit like 2018 has. It doesn't have the same setup or any of that. This is just Michael's, I guess, was vibing for 20 years and then just was like, I should take care of Lori. I should go check on that. Where is she? I know she's not dead somehow.
My assumption was he's just been looking for her this whole time.
And you don't get an explanation on how he survived. You don't get an explanation on how Loomis survived because there's a throwaway line where one of the detectives is like, "Oh, was Marion taking care of that shrink that died a few years ago?" Which tells me that he survived. I don't fucking know how, but I guess that's why he needed a caretaker because he was probably
just a burnt vegetable.
He was probably fucked up. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, it was good, but I feel like it's a lot of its strengths and a lot of it is undone with Resurrection, unfortunately, which is a shame.
I mean, what, the last 15 minutes of the movie?
Yeah, that's the main thing. Hold on. Give me a second. I'm dealing with something real quick.
Dealing and wheeling. But we're not stealing.
No,
Woo.
we're not. See, Justin, look at Justin, keeping everything intact while I'm dealing with something on my phone. But yeah, so where was I? Could you remind me, please? I forgot where I was.
I don't know. I was trying to rhyme more things in my head.
See, we're professionals here, just pure professionals. Yeah, okay. I was talking about Loomis, how there's not really an explanation on any of that.
Yeah.
And yeah, Marion Chambers comes back. Lori obviously comes back, which was a big deal at the time, because a lot of people. That's what drew a lot of people in. But this came out in a post-Scream world, and
you could really feel that.
You definitely can,
considering they're watching the movie at one point.
They're watching Scream 2 at one point, yeah. Which I got some fun facts about that. Believe me.
Fun facts.
But yeah, I mean, I thought it was okay. But like I said, I feel like that's what I was saying. I feel like it's undone by Resurrection. Not just the last 15 minutes. Not just the last 15 minutes of it. It's like the whole impact. This should have been the last one. Like, if we're being honest. This should have just been the last one. But there was a lot of drama, as is the case with any fucking Halloween production or horror movie production in general in the 90s. There was a lot of drama behind the scenes that led to it working out the way it did. And we're going to talk a little bit at least about the beginning of Resurrection, because I just need to get a lot of stuff off my chest now, because believe me, there's going to be a lot of other shit to talk about Resurrection in general. Yeah. So spoilers for this and Resurrection both.
Slightly.
But let's give some background. This was directed by Steve Miner, who also directed some Friday the 13th movies. I cannot remember, and I don't feel like looking it up right now, but I cannot remember if he directed 2 and 3 or 3 and 4. But he directed, I know he for sure directed 3. I'm pretty sure. Watch me be fucking wrong about it. But Steve Miner directed Friday the 13th. So he was brought on to direct this. It had a budget of $15 million, and the gross was $75 million. So it was pretty successful at the time. Remember, this is 1998 money. So after Halloween 6, a lot of people didn't like Halloween 6, and there was a lot of different ideas that were being thrown around to figure out how to continue the franchise, right? So listen to this. The initial concept was going to be written by the same guy, Daniel Farrens, that wrote Halloween 6. And it was going to be called Michael Myers. Not even Halloween, just Michael Myers, Lord of the Dead. And it was going to pick up right where 6 left off, where Tommy discovers that the entire town was working together to control Michael, or some shit like that. It would have been stupid, is what I wrote. Farrens dropped out.
Stupid.
But Daniel Farrens gave up on the script and dropped out of production because he couldn't bear to watch another script that he wrote get completely butchered again, like Halloween 6 was. Because like we talked about, producer's cut was the initial draft, and then it got completely fucked over. But that was the initial idea, and yeah, that's something. I mean, I don't know. The Thorn stuff was never really for me, so I don't think it really would have helped anything. And this whole super conspiracy where
if they tried a little harder to make that shit make sense and not just introduce it as some, oh, here's some mystery thing. We don't know where we're going, but we're going.
Yeah, it was very clearly something that was just made up as it went along, and that's the biggest issue with it. But yeah, that fell through pretty quick. And then Kevin Williamson, the writer of the first 3 Screams, I don't remember if he wrote 4, but the writer of the first, at this time, 2 Screams, was initially hired to write H2O. And it would have been pretty much the same concept of Laurie, because it was going to be called The Revenge of Laurie Strode, which was going to be a play on Revenge of Michael Myers, Halloween 5. But it would have incorporated elements from 4, 5, and 6, so all of that still would have happened. Like, I think what I read was it was specifically going to have, like, that opening sequence where it's showing all those newspaper clippings and shit, and it plays that recording of Loomis talking about the devil's eyes and all that. It was initially going to be a recap of like Halloween 4, 5, and 6, and it was going to mention Jamie and have like flashbacks to her getting killed and her killing her mom or trying to kill her mom and all that shit. So it was basically going to be the same thing. He's the one that came up with that initial concept, and then the studio was like, "Sure, we'll run with that." And they were able to get Jamie Lee Curtis back and everything. But that's the question, Justin. Would this film have benefited at all from incorporating 4 through 6's storyline? I mean, I don't really see what else could have changed. We would have, because the idea of like Laurie faking her death was to retcon that line in Halloween 4 where she dies in a car crash or whatever. So I don't know. What do you think that would have changed anything really with the story, incorporating those 3 movies? Or do you think it just works better as a timeline reset?
I mean, really, just because of how much I like 4 and 5, I would have liked them to stay included, but I get why they went with just taking it away, because 6 just completely shit on both of those.
Yeah.
I think the timeline change was a good call, even though it kind of didn't make sense and they barely had any time to bother explaining any of it.
Yeah, it opened up some plot holes, unfortunately.
And I think in that opening scene when they were showing all the pictures and shit on the wall, there was a picture that referenced 4.
There might have been. I didn't catch it.
I don't remember any other kill that involved scissors other than Jamie stabbing her adopted mom or whatever.
Or Rachel getting stabbed.
Yeah, Rachel getting stabbed with scissors too.
Yeah, because wasn't there scissors in Halloween 2? Didn't he stab somebody with scissors in the second one?
Not a big pair like that if he did.
Oh, okay. I don't remember. That was a few weeks ago. So naturally, Jamie Lee Curtis, having signed on, wanted to get the whole crew back together. So she wanted to get John Carpenter back in on it. So Carpenter initially agreed, actually, to come back and direct it. So we could have had another Carpenter Halloween where he would have, and believe me, he probably would have just wanted it to end. I don't think he would have left room for a sequel. But he was going to direct, but he was dissatisfied with the salary, which was going to be $10 million for starting. But he was dissatisfied.
Shit, I'll take that.
And yeah, me too, right? So he demanded a 3-picture deal with Dimension Films. Now, I don't think this relates to 3 Halloweens so much as it does, I'm going to make 3 other movies separate from this, just with your studio's backing. The Weinsteins told him no, and Carpenter felt that this was a fair demand because he doesn't feel that he was ever properly compensated for the first movie, because Akkad took a lot of that money, the producer of that movie. And then Akkad was like, "Go fuck yourself," and then Carpenter was like, "All right, bye," and then he just left. And I wonder, I just wonder how it would have, because like, I wonder how it would have gone if Carpenter had directed. Like, I don't think like I guess we would have just gotten like more like weird like I guess throwbacks to the first movie maybe. I don't know what Carpenter could have done, because at this point Carpenter was in the 90s. Carpenter wasn't exactly doing his best work at this point in his career, for being honest. So I don't know if it would have really been a benefit or a detriment at this point. But who knows?
I mean, the whole franchise was in a dead zone anyway right now.
Yeah.
So
there's a universe out there where Carpenter directed H2O. And who knows what it was like? We'll never see.
It might not even be called H2O.
Yeah, it might not even be called water.
That might have been Halloween Ends.
Yeah, yeah. He probably would have named it Halloween Ends, knowing him. And Kevin Williamson, although he was initially, gonna write the script, he didn't end up taking the credit. I don't remember the name. I know I got the name of the writer written down somewhere. But he helped kind of clean up dialogue and made certain alterations to the script. And you can tell which dialogue was written by him because it feels very 90s. And it feels very, cheeky. And like there's a line with where like the girls where like Laurie's boyfriend walks in on the girls watching Scream 2. And he's like, what are y'all's plans for tonight? And then Michelle Williams and the other girl, what was her name? You looked it up. The goth Sarah, yeah.
She wasn't goth. She wishes she was goth.
Listen, she looks okay. I'm sorry. We have the goth officiator over here. He's gonna keep track of all that for any future movie that may or may not include a goth girl or a goth man. I guess we'll find out. But that's besides the point. That's your new title, goth officiator.
Goth goblin.
goth. Fuck off. Anyway, So and then they're like, oh, we're just gonna go out like roofie some men or whatever, and then obviously joking, and then she's like, and then they're like, oh, what are you gonna do? And he's like, or you want to come join us? And he's like, oh, I'd love to, but I'm getting my nipples pierced. And it reminded me so much of that talk at the beginning of Scream, where they're all like chatting around like what is it, a fountain or some shit, and Jamie Kennedy's doing his stupid voices, and they're all like talking about like livers and mailboxes and shit. It just felt very, very 90s. And I don't know how I feel about it. Because it works in Scream. It doesn't really work in a Halloween movie for me personally.
Yeah.
But
it felt off.
It felt... That's why I'm saying you could tell. Because the rest of the movie kind of has like... Well, past a certain point in the movie, it kind of has a more serious tone to it. And that dialogue mixed with LL Cool J's poem reading... or I guess erotic novel.
He's just the same character he was in Deep Blue Sea. like he really was.
Yeah.
And I love that movie.
Yeah, I guess he was, huh? Oh, man. Old LL Cool J. You know what LL Cool J stands for? Do you not know?
No.
Ladies Love Cool James.
Wow.
It was the 80s, Justin. You can't... Listen... You can't fault him, all right? It was, I mean, I thought he was fine in the movie though. For the most part, he was just goofy that he kept reading these erotic novels.
He was just a I'm here character.
Yeah, that's what he felt like. But like, it wasn't like, I don't know, it didn't feel bad because there's some I'm here characters in the next movie that are pretty bad. So I would much rather have this than the other one. There's also an alternate TV version of the movie that exists. That was shown on FX in 2003. It has never been shown again, and it has never been released officially. You can find the deleted scenes on YouTube, apparently, but I didn't go looking for them, and I don't know what they entail or anything. It's just like a weird alternate version of the movie that was only shown once on FX, and that's kind of weird that exists and just was never released. Because like even the TV version of Halloween 2 is on the Shout Factory release, but it's not on this Shout Factory release for H2O. So
yeah, side note about shit like that. That kind of makes me mad. Like I get why stuff like that doesn't get released, but it's just kind of annoying. Cause like they did the same thing, kind of getting off track to the Lost World Jurassic Park. Mm-hmm. There's an extended version of that movie that exists, but they have never released it. Mm-hmm. And it makes me mad, like. Because I own the 4K collection, and it's like, they could have included that.
Yeah.
The scenes that are in there don't necessarily add or take away, but, I mean, they're good.
See, and that's why I'm surprised, because you don't really get that very often from, like, studio releases. You usually get it from smaller independent distributors like Shout or Arrow. Like, for instance, Reanimator, which is a movie we're going to cover at some point. Reanimator... The Arrow Video released a Blu-ray like deluxe set that I'm very lucky that I got, because that bitch sold out very quickly on pre-orders. And I am very lucky that I was just checking Facebook when I saw my cousin post about it, because I own one of the rarest fucking Arrow video releases ever now. And that particular version of it comes with the theatrical cut, the unrated cut, and the integral cut. So the integral cut, because Reanimator's a very gory movie. Very, very gory movie. So to air it on TV, they had to make extended scenes that would kind of cover up all the gore, because if you cut out the gore, you don't have a full runtime. So they did that to kind of compensate. And the integral cut combines TV footage with all the gore and shit, and it's a longer version of the movie. Some people think it makes it better, some people don't. It's, personal opinion, but Arrow does stuff like that. Shout does stuff like that for everything but this movie, I guess. I don't know.
And somebody prove me wrong if an extended cut of that movie actually exists somewhere. I mean, Lost World, Jurassic Park, because I'd love to find it. I've seen it one time on TV.
I'm sure you can find it on YouTube, maybe.
Well, yeah, but
or on the
I want quality, damn it.
Yeah, me too. Me too. Don't get me wrong, me too. That is the caveat to a lot of TV versions being on Shout Factory releases.
I can't wait to see Dominion next week.
Because Justin's a big Jurassic Park guy, so he's definitely going to be there like day one, and then he's going to tell me it was good, and I'm going to be like, was it though? And then he's going to slap me or something. I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, I'm gonna be out of town, so he's gonna get to watch that. And we're gonna be releasing a Resurrection early because I'm gonna be out of town. But anyway, back to this. So, but I was gonna say that's the caveat with releasing the TV version on Blu-ray is a lot of the times it looks like shit because they don't bother remastering it because they can't because they record it off of a TV and that's how they just put it. It's really weird. But anyway, so little bit of trivia fun fact here. Originally, Molly and Sarah weren't watching Scream 2 on the TV, and it's kind of obvious on the Blu-ray that they weren't because it very clearly looks like it's composited in. But instead, they were watching So I Married an Axe Murderer starring Mike Myers, and the joke was going to be that a Mike Myers movie was being watched in a movie where Michael Myers exists. A running joke that they've been trying to do for years that Mike Myers just has not let them do. I don't know. That would have made it a little too like tongue in cheek for me.
Yeah.
I probably would have chuckled like initially, and then like if I ever watch this again, I'd be like, that's kind of dumb.
I probably wouldn't have got it because I don't fucking like Mike Myers.
See, and then it doesn't work for some people, so But in a 2018 interview, Jamie Lee Curtis said H20 started out with the best intentions. Yes, H20 started out with the best intentions, but ended up being a money gig. The film had some good things in it. It talked about alcoholism and trauma, but I ended up really doing it for the paycheck. So she's not crazy about it. I think that's because Halloween 2018 exists and also Resurrection exists.
Talked about alcoholism and what?
Trauma.
It mentioned those like one time.
Yeah, it mentions it once. It doesn't go to the extent that 2018
All it did
does.
was her son said she's a functioning alcoholic, and then her therapist friend telling her that she needs to talk about what happened.
Yeah,
and that was it.
That's it. Yeah, I guess that's why she didn't really care because it was mentioned once. Shortest Halloween movie in the franchise at like 85 minutes. It's less than an hour and a half long. And Steve Miner, the director, in interviews has talked about getting late night calls from Jamie Lee Curtis concerned about the state of the script. They both felt that at the time, Kevin Williamson's tweaks made for a better film. I don't agree, but at the time, I guess a lot has changed in 22 years, 24 years. Oh my God, ew. Oh, this movie came out when I was 3. What the fuck? Oh, I'm so old now. Anyway, we're old men. This is the Gore Goblins podcast. We're old men. That's the point. Another Mike Myers gag was attempted when Jamie Lee Curtis and Steve Miner approached the actor and pitched to him a scene where Laurie gets out of her car and Mike Myers walks by and Laurie does a double take at him. And Mike Myers said, "Get the fuck out." So that's what happened. It was like that scene in X-Men First Class where Charles and Magneto go up to Wolverine when he's in the bar. "Hey, we want you to join our team."
Fuck
And
yourself.
Go fuck yourself. That's basically what happened. I can picture it in my head. Fun fact as well, this is more of a trivia thing. Both Nancy Stevens, who plays Marion Chambers, and Joseph Gordon-Levitt, who plays, what's his name, Jimmy? They're both dead before their names even appear in the credits because they're in the cold open. So they're being credited as being in the movie and they're already fucking dead. And there's something about that just makes me giggle.
I hated that cold open.
It just makes me giggle. I don't know why. You didn't like it?
No.
I didn't really like it either. Jimmy was really
slow.
cringy. Jimmy was really cringy.
If it didn't take as long as it did, it would have been fine.
Like, there's that scene where he goes into the kitchen and, or when he goes into the house and he's just like, "Hey, fucking, I'm here. You can't mess with me." And he's acting all tough and shit.
I've been suspended 5 times already.
Like, that's something to be
good
proud
for
of.
you, kid.
Yeah, good for you, you fucking idiot. And then he gets a hockey shoe to his face, so it's fine. It all works.
Skate. Ice skate.
No, it's a hockey shoe. What are you talking about? So anyway, as I mentioned before, I went through the liberty of going through all the special features. There's only one cut of this version of this movie that exists on Blu-ray, but I went through the trouble of going through all the special features and shit, so we'd have more to talk about and throw our opinions out on and stuff. We already talked about the beginning of this. Oh, another script idea, another concept idea was that this was going to have a Silence of the Lambs dynamic to it. So there's 2 different versions of this. One was where it was going to involve a copycat killer being captured, and then the real Michael comes back and starts killing people. And then the police get that copycat killer to help them find Michael. That was one idea, which is kind of dumb. But the other idea was that Charlie was actually going to be, and this is very Scream, Charlie was actually going to be Michael the whole time until the last act of the movie where the real Michael comes back and kills him. I'm glad neither of those were made because I don't think either of those would work very well, especially the first idea where it's like a Silence of the Lambs thing. I don't know. I don't think it would have been that great. What about you, Justin?
I mean, even in general, the whole movie felt like it wasn't really Michael.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I think, I feel like they just wanted to shake things up, but I'm kind of glad they didn't because I think it would have just been stupid. It would have been, it probably wouldn't have been as, I guess, received, it probably wouldn't have been received as well by fans if it had been the Silence of the Lambs route. Thank goodness. And at the time, Jamie Lee Curtis said that the reason she came back was to be a thank you to the fans, which I'm pretty sure she said the same thing when 2018 came out. Because she's like, "Oh, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for all of y'all."
Now she was like, 2018's a thank you and an apology.
Yeah, right? Fucking absolutely. Also, this was originally going to be released direct to video.
I could see that.
I can definitely see that.
I was going to say, this movie felt like just a TV movie.
And that's because Halloween 6 did so fucking bad critically. The director of photography for this movie, the cinematographer, also worked on Phantasm, which is another series we're going to cover at some point. And I guess I can kind of see it. But I don't know, Phantasm's a better movie. But the voice of Loomis at the beginning wasn't Loomis.
I was going to say, it didn't sound like him.
They were originally going to get the original, I guess, audio, but they couldn't find an isolated mix of it. So they just got Tom Kane, who does Yoda and all the Star Wars games and shit, to do the voice of Loomis. And he said that it was a whole day of him just being told that he sucked by by Donald Pleasance's close friend, until finally he was like, that's good.
You fucking suck.
It wasn't that mean, but it was in the interview, he's like, yeah, that was the hardest day I've ever worked because I'm just sitting in a booth. And he said, and I just have Donald Pleasance's friend just staring at me. And he's like, not there. No, that's not good. And then at one point,
he should have just done it in a Yoda voice.
That would have that would have been something for sure. But at one point he said a line, and then Pleasance's friend was like, "That's him," and it doesn't really sound like him. But to be fair, it doesn't really sound like him in 2018 when they do the same thing. So, whatever. I already kind of mentioned that Jamie Lee Curtis was very involved in the production of the film, like every aspect. She really wanted this to be like a love letter to the franchise and the fans, and she almost succeeded. LL Cool J was cast because the producers wanted to attract an African American audience because they felt that these movies were very popular with the African American audience. So that's the whole reason they put him in there, which I don't know, feels kind of scummy, but that's how producers are. They're kind of scummy because I don't know. I don't like pandering to studio. I don't like studio pandering at all.
Yeah.
But like I said, I still liked LL Cool J in the movie. But I don't like that that's an aspect of it, that's the whole reason he was cast. Just because I don't like producers, especially the Weinsteins. I don't like them for obvious reasons. So it just kind of feels slimy. I don't know. And then the way that he was like talking about it in the interview, it wasn't the Weinsteins, but it was like, I think Mustafa Akkad's son or one of the other producers was talking about it, and he was just sounding like so proud. Like it was almost like he was bragging about it. And I'm like, dude, that's like something doesn't feel right about this. Like I'm uncomfortable watching you talk about this, and I don't know why, but something just doesn't feel right. But LL Cool J's inclusion caused a couple of cast members to be starstruck by him, especially Josh Hartnett, which this was his first film role, by the way. But he said that like he was a big fan. That was John. Oh. Laurie's son. He was in Black Hawk Down too. That's the only other thing I know that he's in off the top of my head.
He looks like he was in The Faculty too.
He might have been. He probably was if you think so, but I don't know. But he was like one of the more starstruck guys for LL Cool J because he really liked LL Cool J apparently. This one kind of makes me laugh. Michael's nickname during production was Shapey, which I guess is a play on the shape, and that's kind of funny to me. Because I know there exists somewhere a daily where Jamie Lee Curtis, that part where she yells Michael after she sends John away, where she yells Shapey, and I want to see that because I know it. I guarantee you it exists. You get throwaway gags like that all the time. It has to exist, and one of these days I'm gonna find it somehow because that would be hilarious. The person that played Michael Myers was Chris Durand this time around, who is also a stunt performer for Ghostface in Scream 2, which is kind of funny because they're watching Scream 2 at one point. And Chris Durand decided to play Michael, and this is a quote, like a big cat stalking its prey. I don't know if that was conveyed very well, but
it wasn't.
But that's how he decided to play it. And I don't know. I guess that part where he hangs down from the pipe, that real iconic shot of that, I can kind of see it, I guess. But, like, I don't know. He had never played Michael before. So, like, he had never, like, played anything like this before.
He didn't really get the kind of slow movement down.
Yeah, Michael is a brisk walker in this one. He doesn't really, he's not, it kind of takes away some of the menace of him. Combine that with his doofy looking mask. And
it looks like he's fucking constantly surprised at what's going on.
He's just like, just walking around. Oh my God. Yeah, he does. It is not a good mask. One fun anecdote. So the writer, Robert Zappia, was on set watching everything happen. And at one point, Chris Durand comes up to him and he's like in full Michael Myers, like in the full getup. And he just starts talking to him about like writing and about how he's working on this script or whatever. And he's like, can you help me out? Like I want to like, and they're just like, and Robert Zappia is like, it was just really weird because I'm talking to Michael Myers, like in the full getup about like how to write a certain scene or something. And I love goofy shit like that picture of Tim Curry in full makeup as Pennywise with like an umbrella and a cigarette in his mouth. Like stuff like that always makes me laugh. I love behind the scenes photos like that. A more iconic Halloween one is the one with Nick Castle with the mask over his head, and then he's got the Coke can and he's putting it in Michael's mouth instead of his own. That's a real good one. And then he recreated that for Halloween 2018. That's love to see it. Love to see it. And part of the reason the mask looks so doofy is because it was changed about 3 weeks into shooting because the producers didn't like the original mask. Fun fact, this also happened with Scream, and this was by the same productions company. That's why I'm saying this movie has a lot of ties to Scream, and it kind of weirds me out. And Michael's first appearance, though, when he's stalking Marion, and that shot where like he like knocks down the door or whatever, and she's like, or like breaks the window or whatever he does. It's like a shot with like the camera's like looking up at Michael. He's actually wearing the mask from Halloween 6, which I would rather he just wore that mask the entire time.
Yeah.
Because that mask wasn't terrible. Wasn't great, but it wasn't terrible. It
didn't have eyebrows.
It did not have eyebrows. So the original mask was called the K&B mask, all right? And it looked like shit. Like it looked bad. Like it looks really bad. That mask, it can still be seen in certain wide shots of the movie because they only did reshoots during like close-up scenes. And that's with a mask that was made by Stan Winston, who does like creature effects. Like he designed the Predator. He helped with Terminator. R.I.P. by the way, he made Pumpkinhead and directed that first one. I don't remember if he directed the sequels, but I know for sure he directed that first one. But Stan Winston was like a legend, so they got him to make a Michael Myers mask, so it's his fault that it looks kind of doofy. Also, that scene where Charlie goes face-to-face with Michael, you'll notice that it kind of looks like shit, and that's because Michael's mask is like touched up with CGI, which is why it looks like a fucking cartoon. I don't like how it looks in that shot at all.
It looked weird.
It looks really weird. I don't like it. Why do they... How hard is it to just make a fucking mask that looks like the original? Like, how hard is it to do that? Also, where does Michael even get the mask from? He's been fucking vibing for 20 years. Did he just go to the store and pick it up? I guess. But I think it's funny that he goes after a mask that looks very similar to the one he had before. Like, that's his thing. I don't know. It's just kind of funny. Oh, plot holes. Tons of plot holes. But you know what? It's a slasher, so it's fine. But yeah, Michael, that towards the end, towards the climactic ending, where Laurie is driving the coroner's van because she knows Michael's not dead. That shot where Chris Durand flies through the windshield and then sits up was all done in one shot. Very impressive. Very impressive that was all just one shot. That's really cool. I like stuff like that. I like little stuff like this.
We're doing this once and never again.
Yeah, pretty much. The Weinsteins wanted to end the franchise with this film, but Mustafa Akkad wanted room for a sequel. So, it was so this is how it was initially going to go. Kevin Williamson's original treatment had like several different ways for Michael to die at the end because the Weinsteins wanted him to die. They wanted this to be the last movie of the franchise. One of the ways was Michael getting cut in half by a helicopter blade. Don't know how that would have fucking happened, but it would have happened. The other one was going to be in the gym of the school. Like the floor was going to like move and like clamp them together and kill him somehow. Michael was going to die though, for sure. So there's all this turmoil that's going on. Like, Jamie Lee Curtis almost leaves the movie over this shit because she's like, I don't want to do this if there's going to be a sequel. And then Kevin Williamson, in his infinite wisdom, came up with the idea for the ending, which was to have Michael switch places with a paramedics officer. And then that paramedics officer is who gets decapitated by Laurie. But Laurie said, I don't want there to be any indication that that's what happens until the inevitable sequel's announced. And then I'll make a cameo in that and you can kill me off because I don't want to be a part of it. And she also requested a shitload of money for that because, you know, God bless her. Hashtag girl boss. You know what I'm saying? She deserves it. Scream queen, baby. Let's go.
Yeah.
But it was Kevin Williamson's idea to do that as a compromise because otherwise the whole movie was going to fall apart. Now, this is where we get into some ending stuff. In the initial treatment too, Michael was gonna say Laurie's name before he died. So as they're like reaching out to each other, Michael was gonna say Laurie, which would have been terrible.
Yeah.
That scene was already weird enough with him like reaching out to her. But I guess whatever, it wasn't really him. I'm gonna start getting mad. We'll circle back to that ending. First, I got a few more things I wrote down, like that the original score was changed. John Ottman did the original score, and it was very orchestral. Like, and this score was already pretty orchestral, but it was like very orchestral. It sounded almost like epic and grand, and like it had this air of finality to it that doesn't really exist in the final cut. And that was all changed because the producers thought it didn't fit the tone of the movie, which is fair, I guess.
It wouldn't have fit to me either.
So instead, now you get a bunch of like motifs from John Carpenter's score, done very well, I might add, with some of the more orchestral shit that John Ottman originally did. And it was redone by Marco Beltrami. I know he's done other stuff, but I cannot remember what it is off the top of my head. H20 was very well received by fans at the time. I need to stress that at the time. And the last little thing I wrote down was that Janet Leigh is in this movie. That's Jamie Lee Curtis's real life mother. She's the one that says everyone's entitled to one good scare line. She was also in Psycho, which is funny to me because she has a line where she talks about shower drains being clogged. And one of the most iconic scenes of that movie is her blood swirling down a shower drain. I guess spoilers for Psycho if you haven't seen a movie that came out literally 60 fucking years ago. But, you know.
Groupie, cocaine.
Love
crazy.
Psycho. It's not, no, don't. Okay? System of a Down's going to nuke us. But anyway, Psycho is a good movie too.
They'll just be like every time there's a problem, it's just another goblin.
I hate you. All right, anyway. I hate you. Ooh, I hate you. Anyway, so she's in, and the car that she drives away in after that, everybody's entitled to one good scare scene, is the same car that Marion Crane drives in Psycho. I'm pretty sure that's her name, unless I'm getting that mixed up with something else. That's the same car a character drives in Psycho, which is a nice little, neat little throwback.
I've
love
never
that.
seen Psycho.
I know you haven't, but I've seen it a bunch. I love Psycho. It's really good. It was like it was one of the first like big horror movies.
I've seen documentaries about it.
Yeah, it's really good. It's really good. But anyway, back to talking shit about the fucking ending. So, I think it's like I said. I think this was tarnished a lot by the fact that the resurrection exists, because it undoes everything that this movie had going for it. Like immediately in that first scene of resurrection, where you see how Michael fucking crushed this dude's windpipe, and then steals his clothes, and then the dude wakes up in the van and this is a normal dude at this point. It's not Michael, who's seemingly indestructible at every other point in the movie, and he's seemingly indestructible until he gets his head chopped off because he goes through a fucking windshield of a van, and just sits up like it's nothing. And he's just like, oh, cool, I guess I'm Michael. And then Laurie runs him over. He gets pinned between a tree and the van. And then Laurie grabs the axe and goes up to him, and then he like reaches out for it. Well, first he wakes up, and he's like grabbing his mask and hair all confused, right? So Michael didn't glue the fucking mask to his face.
Yeah.
Because in the opening shot of Resurrection, they take the mask off of the head. So it's not like Michael glued. Why didn't he just take the mask off? Why didn't he just take the mask off and be like, it's not me? Like, I know he can't talk, whatever, but it's not me.
Laurie's never seen his face either.
That's true.
But I guess it would have had burns all over it, too.
Yeah, because he got fucking burned to death in 2. And then Laurie decapitates him, and it ends on that. And that's cool. That's a great ending. But, we need money, so we're going to make a fucking shitty sequel.
Time to resurrect it.
And then it's awful. It's fucking terrible. Ew. It just doesn't make it just doesn't make any sense that my man survives being thrown out of a windshield and then pinned to a tree, and he doesn't just die immediately. I get it that it's a stupid slasher, but it's not Michael at this point. It's some fucking randy paramedic. And it's like, okay. No. I don't like that. I don't like this. It doesn't make any fucking sense, and it's stupid, and I hate that it just like kind of ruins the ending of this movie. God damn it makes me mad. I like, because it's such a good ending. Like the best way you could have ended it was Laurie just being like, fuck you, Michael, and then just cutting his head off. They have their weird moment where they reach out to each other, and then that's that. That's it. And then, but no, we had to milk it for a very, very bad sequel that we'll talk about next week, obviously. But yeah, that's disappointing. I think it undoes everything that this movie has going for it. None of the cast from this movie shows up in the sequel except for Jamie Lee Curtis at the beginning. You know, I don't like it, man. What do you think? What do you think of all that, Justin? What do you think of the ruined ending for this movie?
It's dumb, especially considering the movie that followed. But I guess people want money.
I mean, I get that, like, it was a compromise, but I would have rather they just let the franchise die here. And then it would have, because it was going to get rebooted anyway.
Yeah. Because
they would have found a way to make money anyway. So the Rob Zombie movies would still exist probably, unfortunately, but you know.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
I'll appreciate the mistakes of this movie and the sequel because all the failures are what gave us 2018 and kills.
That is true. That is the only bright side to all of this shit. The only other bright side is the kills, which we're going to talk about now.
Were they bright? I hated all of them.
Well, okay.
Those were the most disappointing kills of the franchise.
Well, yeah. It kind of felt like, yeah, they're not great.
Because what do we get first? We got Jimmy getting the ice skate in his face.
The hockey shoe, yes.
That looked cool. It was a nice effect. And then Jimmy's friend, I guess, just got stabbed.
Yeah.
The nurse gets her throat slit.
Yeah.
That's that.
Yeah.
Charlie gets his throat slit. That's that.
That was a gnarly throat wound, though.
Yeah, the effect looked cool.
Looked like it was ripped open. That was pretty cool, I
guess.
Then
Sarah, she gets stabbed in the thigh. And then Michael, while she's escaping from Michael in like a dumbwaiter elevator for a kitchen, he cuts the rope so the elevator falls and it crushes her leg and
good effect.
Just mangles the thing.
Another good effect.
That was great. And then
he stabs her to death after that.
Steps on her neck and stabs her to death, and then hangs her body up over a light fixture that makes it look like a jack-o'-lantern thing, I guess.
Yeah, and that was kind of cool. That he's back to posing bodies and stuff anyway, and he does the head tilt at a couple.
Yeah, we got the head tilt.
We have the head tilt. Not looking at a body, but you know what? That's fine. And then Will, Laurie's boyfriend or whatever, gets stabbed and lifted with a kitchen knife, just like the nurse in Halloween 2, except he's twitching a bunch. Which I guess if you're stabbed in the spine, I guess you twitch. There's a fake out death with LL Cool J where he gets shot at a bunch of times by Will because he thinks he's Michael, but he just gets grazed like on the side of the head. And then the last death is
Michael's.
Michael getting decapitated.
Michael.
Yeah. And it's it's kind of disappointing. These kills aren't great.
It's just half the movie spent all the time doing nothing.
Yeah, half of the movie is just like the setup, and that's why I keep calling her Laurie. That's why Jamie Lee Curtis probably thinks that the best part of the movie is the last bit, because it is the best. That's the best part, and then it's all just fucking tarnished by Resurrection's existence, which is. Michael takes a lot of punishment in this one, though. He gets an axe. He gets an axe to the shoulder. He gets stabbed with like a fucking flagpole. He gets does he get shot? I feel like he gets shot.
No,
he does not get shot.
Not a single bullet.
He does not get shot. He gets stabbed with a kitchen knife. He gets thrown off a fucking balcony. He gets decapitated. Well, never mind. He doesn't get decapitated. But Michael goes through a lot of punishment in this one. Another funny thing that I saw in the interviews was Mustafa Akkad's like biggest rule with Michael is he can never use a gun, right? So Chris Durand, as a joke, was doing that scene where he's on top of the table and he has his knife out to stab Laurie when she looks up at him. You know which part I'm talking about? Mm-hmm. in that scene, he throws the knife away and pulls a gun out of his pocket. And then like he said that he just kind of sat there in silence because he thought he was about to get fired, and then he just hears Mustafa Akkad start laughing and going, "Oh, no gun, you got me, haha, that's funny." And then like everybody was okay, but he said like for a moment he's like, "I was really worried that I pissed him off," and that was kind of funny. But yeah, I only really wrote about the kills because there's not a lot to really, I don't know, nothing really stood out in this movie for me during my watch. The only thing I wrote down was the cheeky dialogue about that cop saying that, "Oh, isn't Michael that Halloween guy?" And I'm like, all right. Yeah, funny. Ooh, funny joke. Fuck off. I do hate stuff like that. I don't know. It's so like, I mean, I don't know. Like stuff like that works for Scream because Scream knows what it is, but this like tries to take itself seriously at the end. So like, I don't know.
I
don't know.
We forgot to mention we did get another callback for the first one with the whole fate reference again.
Oh yeah, when she's talking about Frankenstein or however she pronounced Frankenstein really weird, like Frankenstein. Yeah, which may be the actual pronunciation. Fuck if I know. But yeah, you get that where she looks out the window and Michael's like looking through a door that's got like bars on its.
Well, Molly looks out the window.
Yeah, Molly does because Laurie's teaching, right? Is that Laurie teaching? Yeah, and then Molly starts talking about fate or whatever. Yeah, that is a callback. But yeah, I mean,
I feel like
I don't know
if John died in this movie, it would have been better.
Yeah,
that would have made Laurie's actions at the end more reasonable than her just being like, "Okay, I'm crazy now."
I mean, what do you mean? What do you mean, like crazy?
Because she just went off and just took the body like nothing.
Oh, well, that's because she knew Michael wasn't dead.
Well, yeah, but I mean,
she
ends up in an asylum after this.
Yeah, because she's so shocked.
And
that
the whole fate discussion was like, now that what was it about? Like Victor Frankenstein having to deal with the fact that his girlfriend and all his friends got killed by his monster, so now he has to face it.
Yeah.
Like, see, that would have made more sense if everyone that Laurie had at that time got killed.
Yeah. Because it had already happened to her before. Yeah. Yeah, that was a missed opportunity. But we're not screenwriters, Justin. What do we know?
Yeah, what do we know?
Obviously nothing. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, there's not really a lot to talk about with this one. Like, that's why I'm glad I had all this extra shit to talk about the making of it, because otherwise this episode would have been like 15 minutes long. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. It was fine. Like, I like that it kind of returned to its roots, like I mentioned before. The kills were kind of weak. But the kills in the first one were also kind of weak, but like the first one's also just like really good at building suspense and tension, and this one really isn't. It's just a bunch of fake jump scares, which there's a couple of those in the original too, but like there's a lot of fake jump scares in this one because again, we're in a post-Scream world at this point, and Scream had a lot of fake jump scares to make a point about the fact that there's too many fake jump scares now in horror movies. And then this, it just kind of feels tired. I don't know. The Scream, that Scream style of being self-aware doesn't work in Halloween to me at all. And that's, I think, one of the movie's biggest detriments. The other detriment is that Resurrection follows it and completely undoes everything good that this one did. You don't have the closure that Laurie should have gotten. You don't have any of that. It just feels... I don't know. I'm sure at the time, if we had seen this in 98 and we were the age that we are now and we were like super big Halloween fans and H20 had come out in 98, I'm sure we would have been like, yeah, it was really fucking good. And then as soon as Resurrection came out, I feel like we both would have been like, wow, the H20 kind of sucks now. Specifically because Resurrection exists. But again, I don't know. For what it is, it's fine. I just think that, again, and I've been saying this, 2018 is the best sequel. So none of these even come close to comparing to that to 2018. Not even close.
Nope.
But I will say this is probably the best one since 4 for me, because I don't really like 5, but it's the best one since 4, I guess. But it's still nothing that I'd really revisit very often. Halloween is one of those franchises now where it's like with Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street, you're like, I'm going to watch all of them, right? Like, you can't just watch one. But with Halloween, you can just watch one. And then if you want, watch maybe 2018 and Kills. Because, I don't know, the Halloween movies, going back and watching all of them, they don't hold up as well as I would have hoped they do. 4 is still good. 2 has its moments. H2O is still all right. But everything else I can kind of do without. Even H2O I can kind of do without. But I don't know. What are your final thoughts on Halloween H2O, Justin?
Well, as far as like what you were just saying about watching it all in a row, I think it's just because they don't all fit cohesively together. 'Cause
Yeah.
You got 1 and 2, then you got 3, which is whatever the fuck it was. And 4 and 5 and 6, where they're a trio together, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And then you just, those 3 don't exist anymore. Now we got this one. So it's like you have to watch them in a certain order to get them.
Yeah.
Which is, I guess, okay if you want to do that. But like you said, with watching Friday the 13th or Nightmare on Elm Street, you can just go straight through and be done.
Yeah.
Because that's what I've done when I've watched Friday the 13th again. I watched all of them right in a row, and it was just fine.
Like, even New Nightmare with Nightmare on Elm Street works because it's a separate thing,
Yeah.
Even that one works. But
I just think Halloween had higher expectations for itself.
yeah.
And people had other higher expectations for it. That's why it's more, I guess, critically looked at than the others.
Yeah. Yeah, I can see that. But
because Friday the 13th and Nightmare accepted what they were and just went with it.
yeah,
Halloween, they
especially
kept trying to
Friday the
change
13th.
it.
Well, yeah, because with Halloween, that was, I think the reason Halloween is like that is because Halloween's like the original, Halloween was like the one that broke out, and Friday the 13th was a copycat of Halloween. And then, Nightmare on Elm Street was a whole different thing, but like, again, it knew what it was. But yeah, Halloween, I think, kept trying to, like, I guess, live up to that original instead of just knowing what it is and moving on,
Yeah.
It kept trying to be something more than a goofy slasher, and in the process just became nothing but goofy slashers, at least until 2018, in my opinion, anyway. I don't know. I think part of the problem with this one, too, is just all the holes that are left open with it being 20 years apart. Because what the fuck was, like, John has that line where he says, like, what do you think? He's just been waiting around for 20 years? Like, yeah, like, what the fuck was he doing? Was he hiding out? Because, like, it's not like he was locked up. Laurie said, well, I never saw the body. So I guess we can assume that Michael woke up somehow and killed somebody and then just fucked off for 20 years. And he could have been looking for her, like you said, but it took him a long fucking time,
I mean, if they could have just done a lot more with the whole, okay, if this is after 2, then you need to make Michael look like this is after 2. Like,
yeah,
he was not hurt or burned or nothing.
He just looked like a dude in a mask. Like, and it's like you talked about earlier, his mannerisms weren't really Michael either. Which was also a kind of, because even in Halloween 4, like, his hands are fucked up.
Yeah, his hands are burned.
Like, his hands are fucked up in 4, 5, and 6. So, I mean, there was some continuity there. And, and as doofy as he looked in 4, I mean, it still worked, But in this one, you can tell that it's somebody that just doesn't really know how to do the mannerisms right, Like, because that's what Chris Duran said. He's like, I've never done anything like this before. I don't think he watched the original or anything like that. So, I mean, I don't know. Because I think another thing is that once they started making Michael indestructible, he started to feel too much like Jason for my taste. And I don't think he feels like Jason in this, but it's like he feels more like a parody of Jason and a parody of Michael in that regard too, because it doesn't feel right. You know, it's like the more like ever since you said it's like a TV movie, that's all I can think of now because it feels like a fucking TV movie. It feels like a Lifetime original movie production of fucking Halloween or something. You know, it doesn't work for me. It doesn't work for me. The more I'm talking about it, the more I'm realizing I'm never gonna watch this again.
Yeah.
Like I love Halloween, man, but fuck, is this?
And the other thing again, the mask just kills it. The stupid eyebrows, the bigger eye holes that reveal too much of his face underneath.
I don't like I don't like. Again, Michael's not an expressive person, and giving him eyes to be expressive, even before that final scene where he reaches out to Laurie, giving him eyes to be expressive defeats the whole purpose for me. That's not Michael. Michael's a shape. He is the shape. You don't give a shape fucking emotions. You don't do that. He's a shape. Oh, I'm getting upset. Woo. This is what you wanted, isn't it? This is what you wanted me to get mad. You wanted me to rant about it. This is what you wanted. Well, you're getting it. But no, I don't like, and the big eye holes are a problem in Resurrection too. Like, if anything, if I'm gonna give credit to 4 and 5 for anything, it's that you can't see Michael's eyes, especially in 4. You can't see it as goofy as that mask looks in 4. You still can't see his eyes, and that goes a long way because I don't know. It doesn't. It defeats the whole purpose of Loomis saying the devil's eyes, and then you see his eyes, and they're like fucking blue or whatever color they were, and it's just like that don't look like devil's eyes. It looks like fucking Brad Pitt. What are you talking about? It's not. It could be Brad Pitt under there for all I fucking know. Like that's not scary. It's not scary. I can't. The only thing that makes this movie really scary is the forced jump scare shit, and again, that's the problem, is they keep trying to either live up to the original or change up the formula from the original, and it doesn't work either way. Because the reason that original one is so scary is because Michael stalks people, and the camera work aids that incredibly. And there's none of that in this. The only really memorable part of Michael stalking for me was when he came down from that pipe, which doesn't make sense logistically, but whatever. It was a cool shot. I can forgive it, right? But it doesn't, like, was Michael just like fucking Sam Fishering up there? Was he just like hanging on the pipe? And then he's just like, ooh, here she is. And then he just fucking like comes like it's almost like it felt like a and it's ironic that the guy that played him didn't know anything about Michael, because it almost feels like a fan film where like somebody's really excited to play Michael and they kind of overdo it. Yeah, I don't like it. I don't like it at all. Resurrection's much worse than this, but this one doesn't really hold up as well as I would have hoped it did. None of these sequels do, unfortunately. And again, I don't know if that's just because 2018 and Kills exist, and those are much better movies in my opinion. I don't know if it's just because they haven't aged well. It could be a mix of the two. But for me, I mean, I just can't wait till we get through these next 3 dog piles of shit, so that way we can talk about 2018 and Kills, because these next 3 are going to be very hard for me to get through because they are not good. Oh my God. Ugh. But yeah, that's you got any last words, Justin, to throw in there? I know I have a habit of rambling a bit, but you know, is there anything you want to ramble about for a little bit?
I mean, I'm not really attached to this movie that much. I've seen it a couple times before this time on TV, and it never really did much for me. Like, if I caught it at the beginning when I was watching it on TV, I'm pretty sure I'd turn the channel and watch something else, because the beginning is just so boring. Oh. And it just feels like it was meant to be on TV, and it's like, okay, then I'm not watching it. It's just weak in all aspects to me. And I just feel like they really didn't know what to do with it, which is clear they didn't, because of all the changes that had to be made and whatnot. And then it just being a product of its time made it worse.
Yeah.
Because all the shit in there that just didn't fit with Halloween's tone.
Yeah.
Was just stupid.
Yeah, I could agree with that.
Like, I gave no shit for any of the characters. That's why I said it would have been better if they all died.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, because I didn't really care about Laurie's son. I liked Laurie, but like you can tell that in hindsight, after that interview where she said it was for the paycheck, you can really kind of tell that she just kind of the only thing she was really excited about was that ending scene, which is again unfortunate that it's undone in the sequel that came out a whole fucking 5 years later. It wasn't even like an immediate sequel, and that's the worst part. Is that because I think Resurrection came out in like 2003, I want to say. Let's find out. I'll look this up because I'm curious. That's not how you spell resurrection. Come on, John, you dummy.
Protection.
What? That doesn't even make any sense. 2002. It came out a whole 4 years later. Oh, Resurrection's 20 years old. When was it released? I want to see if we're late for the 20th anniversary. When did it come out? That's I can't believe that this whole thing, guys, was actually just a ploy for me to review Halloween Resurrection on its 20th anniversary. It
the
came
real
out,
20 years later is
it's
next.
July 12th. Oh man, we're a month shy. Like that's damn. That's fucking crazy. We're a month shy for being 20 years old.
Oh, so y'all want some in between movies before we do that one?
No, I want to get over this already. I don't want to deal with this anymore. I'm starting to get burned out. I just want to get to 2018 already, and gush about that for like an hour and a half. But yeah, I think that's pretty much all we got to say about H2O. What do you think, Justin?
Yeah.
Is that all we got to say?
All I can give it is it's a background movie. If you really need something playing in the background or to fall asleep to.
This franchise has a lot of background movies, doesn't it? I feel like you've said that about like...
I said that about
6.
3, 6, and this one.
And this one, yeah. Didn't we say it about 2? I felt like we said it about 2.
I might have.
Yeah. There's a lot of Listen, we love Halloween, but there's a lot of background movies here. But yeah, so next week...
We got Resurrection, followed by Rob Zombie's remake, and the sequel to that one, which I fucking hate. I fucking hate that movie so much.
The contempt in your voice, like
the first one was fine. I get what he was going for with that one, and then the second one it's like it tried to revive the Thorn shit in its own way and just make it so stupid.
Oh man, that's gonna be a Justin episode for sure because we're both gonna talk shit about it.
I've watched the first Rob Zombie one like 10 times. Like I don't hate it.
Yeah,
mostly because Danielle Harris comes back,
and Justin loves him some Danielle Harris, but it is one of his favorite scream queens. To be fair, I don't know why I said it. She's one of his favorite scream queens.
It was her birthday a few days ago too, so. If she somehow miraculously hears this, happy birthday to you.
Yeah, somehow miraculously watches or listens to a fucking podcast about H2O, a movie that she probably doesn't care about. Yeah, that'd be something. Yeah, happy birthday, Danielle Harris. Fuck it. But yeah, so next week's Halloween Resurrection. Thursday actually is probably when that's going to go up. I don't know. Maybe later. Who? I don't fucking care. It's fine. H2O is not that great. Resurrection's even worse. Can't wait to talk about
I don't know why, but Resurrection makes me think of fucking Hellraiser Hellworld. I don't know why.
I can see it.
That's a whole other can of worms we'll get into someday.
I can see it. I can definitely see
another movie I fucking hate.
I can definitely see what you're saying, and I'm mad that I can see what you're saying because Hellworld is fucking awful. Oh my god.
Anyway,
Resurrection's coming up later this week. Can't wait to talk about that one. And by can't wait, I mean I definitely can, because I'm dreading it. But that's besides the point. Hope you enjoyed this episode where I just kind of rambled about special features and stuff again. And Justin talked about how much he hated Halloween 2 towards the end. That was fun, wasn't it, guys? He gets angry.
Rob Zombie's Halloween 2.
Yes. I hate that I have to stress that. I forget that I have to say that. But
I mean, it's basically the title of the movie, too.
Yeah, I know it is. But anyway, so yeah, that's all we got for today. We'll see you later this week or whatever, and that'll be for Halloween Resurrection. I've said that 3 times because that's what I do. I repeat myself a lot. All right, well, bye-bye, everybody. Have a good night's rest tonight. Don't forget to drink your milk before bed to keep
or the goblins will kill you.
or keep the bad guys away. All right, bye.
They'll make you watch Sharknado.
No, no.